It's alive! It's alive!
Otherworldlyculture.com presents Dead On Movie Reviews.
Salutations and mutilations! You're listening to Otherworldly Culture presents Dead On Movie Reviews. Tonight, we present horror movie reviews and lively debate here on Otherworldlyculture.com. And on future select Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join our live chat at that time by clicking on Live Shows on Otherworldlyculture.com website, and I just checked, it's actually working, so that's exciting. I'm your host, Tim Kretschmann, coming to you from the land of lakes and landfills, beautiful and smelly Muskego, Wisconsin. It's my honor to introduce the Faculty of Fear panel presenting tonight's lectures. And we start with our very special guest, Tracey de Leon. She's been in over 11 films, including Family Possessions, streaming on a service near you. Tonight, we get her fresh off the set of her latest, Nun's Curse. You can check her out at her website, TraceyDeLeon.com. It's Tracey! Hello, Tracey!
What's up, guys?
We're having a great time tonight. We're locked up, but we're in good spirits. And that includes, of course, coming up next, Adam Holtzapfel is our hardcore... Wait a minute, I got a song for him now. There we go. Adam Holtzapfel is our hardcore otherworldly culture columnist. And he won't brag, but he is, in fact, the Taco King. Adam will slice and dice twice his film feast and menu of madness. For us on tonight's celluloid entry to cellulite, it's Adam Holtzapfel. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing good, Tim. How are you?
Every day is another, above the ground is a good one. All right, next, we have little Mikey Exler. He's back again today as the denizen of the dismal, the purveyor of the putrid, that exciting exclaimer of glorious gloom wrestling up from his stony tomb. He's the monster of the mad, the ghoul of the glad, and the sack of mumbling, moaning bus that barfs out baloney. He's the one, and there are many, but he's our very own panel purveying provocateur, Coach Michael Exler. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Tim, but why does your state stink?
It stinks in Muskego from time to time because we have one of the largest landfills in the area. Down the road, I'm about 10 miles from there, but every once in a while we'll get a whiff. It's really exciting stuff, let me tell you. Yeah.
Interesting.
Enjoy it. But actually at night, it's sometimes kind of pretty because they burn off the methane, and there's this beautiful like candle that comes out off of the smokestack. And it's kind of pretty over the lake. I don't, it's weird, but true. All right. We didn't talk about what order we're going to do these in. Do you want to start, Tracey?
You guys go first. I like listening to y'all. Y'all go.
Okay, then we are going to go to, let's go to Adam first. Adam, are you ready, first of all?
Sure, I'm ready.
Born ready?
Go, Adam!
Here we go, Adam. What have you been watching?
So do you have the streaming graphic ready, Tim? Because
yes.
I want to throw you off with that.
Here we go. There it is. Yeah, baby.
So I watched the film I'm Just Fucking With You. It's part of the Hulu Blumhouse Into the Dark series. Clocks in at around an hour and 20 minutes, which is perfect for the film. It basically follows siblings that go to a hotel. And they find out the hotel manager's a bit of a practical joker. There's a lot of red herring throughout the film where the main character, Kiro, played by Kiro O'Donnell from Wedding Crashers and Paul Blart Mall Cop, he seems a little unhinged at times, but you gotta wonder if it's really him or the hotel manager played by Hayes MacArthur, and he's more of the guy from that show. He's got one of those faces. People recognize him from something. So, it's filled with a lot of sick practical jokes, relatively small cast. It was great on the first watch. I don't think it really has much of a rewatch value, just because once you see some of the twists, you know it's coming when you rewatch it.
So, like the M. Night Shyamalan problem.
Yeah, a bit better.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, so it fits more into the dark comedy category, I think, with horror elements. It is a well-done film. The setting of a hotel played to it without ripping off Psycho any. Like, it didn't have a Psycho or Identity feel to it at all. It did its own job of doing its own thing in a setting that's been played out. So,
all right. So, is it time already?
yeah, I'd say so, because I don't want to say too much about the film, because I think I'll give it away.
Okay.
I'd say if you have Hulu, definitely check it out. It's worth at least one watch.
What is your grade?
I'd give it a C just because, like I said, I don't think it has a rewatch value.
It sounds to me like it's a bit of a mystery type of
In a way it is, but I think it falls more into the dark comedy. Just an example, one of the jokes that's played is Larry, Kiro O'Donnell's character, calls the front office to see if his sisters arrive. And Chester, played by Hayes MacArthur, says, "Well, Larry, I got some bad news for you. She won't be coming because she saw a big dick on the way here and died and gone to heaven." Just, it's real dark humor in that vein.
Okay. All right, and it is part of Into the Dark. So when they go on Hulu, are they looking for Into the Dark, or I'm just fucking with you?
Yeah, you need to look for Into the Dark. I think right now there's up to 15 films in the series.
Okay.
And they release one each month. But my understanding is it's stuff Blumhouse didn't think would do well in theaters, so they just straight to Hulu'd it.
Right. All right. Fantastic. That means next it is Mike's turn. Mike,
It's my turn.
what have you been watching?
Oh man, I've been watching some good stuff. Or have I? This time it comes from HBO. Does anybody remember HBO?
I do.
I heard of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this one is on HBO, and the original also on HBO. That would be Happy Death Day. It was Happy Death Day to You, the sequel.
Okay.
So basically, this film follows the same people that were the main people in the first. They added the main character's roommate along to the cast of this film. So basically, takes over almost right after the events of the first film. So I don't I don't really know how to review this film without completely and totally ruining the film.
Right.
It's they know their formula, if that makes any sense, and they stuck to it. It looked really well done. Again, just it was a polished film. The cast was attractive. It fit the time parameters perfectly, I thought. A major flaw the issue that I had with it, I don't think it understood what it wanted to be. I don't know. They had the horror element, they had comedy, and then they hit you with this melodrama. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand the melodrama portion of it. I didn't know why the story needed it or why it was even there. I mean, if you're going to go horror comedy, just go that route and stick to it. But they decided to add that element in, and I really didn't think it helped the story at all, and just kind of muddied up what was going on, because there was a lot going on. That would be another criticism I'd have. I think they shot for the stars on the plot. It was a little far fetched, but I mean, I didn't mind. It was entertaining, and that's, I guess, what that comes down to.
Now you saw
again,
the first one, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the first one?
I thought the first one was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought the lead actress was amazing in it. I thought she was the reason the film worked. Without that performance, I don't think that film works.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good things to look in the future from her. Compare this one, the sequel, to the original. What are your thoughts? Because I have very strong thoughts about it.
I think it decreased in quality from the original. That being said, I still think it was decent. I was entertained. Again, I thought the plot was a little, I don't know, far-fetched. But, and the addition of the melodrama, I did not like. But comparison, I definitely enjoyed the first one more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's because they added more elements to the story rather than focusing on her. I enjoyed the parts with her and her boyfriend and all that kind of stuff, but I felt it got a little muddied and kind of boring when the other characters were introduced. Yeah. So I think the simpler the story, more so that goes to what the first one was, a more simpler story was better for this type of film. I thought, where the second one was just tried to do too much.
Well, and that's very similar to my thoughts on it. I thought the first one really explored the whole time loop thing and the, for want of a better word, the Groundhog Day-ness of the storyline. The second one was it wanted to be one of the Back to the Future movies. It really wanted to do everything. Like you said, it tried to do too much. And I was like, this movie wants to be sci-fi. It's not even interested in the slasher aspect anymore. It wants to be
definitely an
sci-fi.
Afterthought in this film.
Yeah. And did I love the movie? Yeah, I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was smart. I love her character. But, in the first movie, she goes through a very normal character arc that you would expect. Very Groundhog Day-esque. I mean, there's a portion of the movie that is exactly like the portion of the movie where Bill Murray keeps trying to kill himself. And Groundhog Day, they have a very similar thing in the first movie. Well, you can't go back there. There's some things that you just can't go back to and recapture with the same character. A lot of times when I watch sequels, I think of the very best line that Bruce Willis had in Die Hard 2. He said, what are the odds of the same shit happening to the same guy twice? That's the problem with almost every sequel. It's like, oh my God, again? How? And I think the problem was they didn't know how to rebuild it because that first movie was so intricate. And the problem was they were missing a bunch of pieces because a lot of the pieces that you had in the first movie, you couldn't go back to. You couldn't go back to her being confused what the hell's going on. She knows what's going on. I'm in a time loop again. God damn it. You know, so
Not happy about it.
yeah. So I don't know, but I still say I would rather watch this movie than 90% of the crap I've been watching lately. I enjoyed this movie a great deal, but it isn't as good. That first one I think is almost one of the best of the Blumhouse flicks. I think it's up there near the top.
Near the top? What would your top Blumhouse picture be?
Well, part of that might be a spoiler. I'm going to put one to the side, and we'll talk about it later. But I would probably go with Hush.
Ooh, good.
Hush.
Hush.
I love Hush.
If you want to go their few non-horror movie selections, I would definitely put Upgrade in there, which I think is fantastic.
Let me upgrade you.
Yeah,
Upgrade.
have you seen Upgrade? Upgrade, I think, got past a lot of people, and it's a really good movie.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
Me neither.
Blumhouse.
I thought it looked good. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
I think it's streaming, guys. I don't think it's actually Blumhouse itself. It's like they made Blumhouse Action or something off to the side. It's got a lot of horror aspects, but it also has a lot of science fiction aspects to it. But I really enjoyed that movie. It was very well done. And I'll be talking more about that actually later during my review. But
Is it the Expendables of horror?
No, it is not. But okay, what did you think of the new characters they introduced? Because I wasn't a fan of most of those.
No, I just thought they were throwaway characters. I expected them to die.
Yeah.
They were just like Laurel and Hardy to me. They just didn't belong. So I don't know. I don't see why they added them in. I just didn't.
Well, they needed bodies.
I
Because
guess
she had
so.
gone through most of her friends in the last movie.
That's true.
Most of them are gone.
This is true. Yeah. Again, that's where the film started to break apart for me, is when
Right.
they added that whole element in. Not the roommate. Like, I thought the roommate was decent.
Right.
I thought he was pretty funny throughout the film, but the other two, they just really lent nothing to it.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Let's get the grade book
Great.
out.
Awesome.
Open that up to the right page. Okay. And this is the sequel that you're doing the grade for. Happy Death Day to You.
Yeah, happy to you. I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Ooh.
B minus.
I couldn't give it a C because I enjoyed it too much, but I'm giving it the B minus for just trying to do too much.
Yeah. It shoots for the moon, don't it?
It really does. It's like, fuck it, we're just doing it.
Do it.
And like it pulls off at some points, and then other points it's just like, you reached too far.
When you're disappointed like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, with sequels, I generally am ready to be disappointed.
Yes.
That's a
It
good
wasn't
plan.
a total loss.
That's a good plan to have. Okay. All right. I guess that brings us up to you, Tracy.
Let's go, Tim.
What have you been watching?
Candyman.
Candyman. Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
How about Tony Todd? Have you heard of Tony Todd?
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
Okay, he was
Okay.
Candyman.
Okay.
And it actually, I'm talking about the 1992 one. It was released by TriStar. I think the budget was like 7.5 to 8 million. I can't really remember right now, but it's about a grad student who does research on like superstitious things, and she realizes that the Candyman is actually a very, very real urban legend boogeyman.
Okay. And played by Victoria Tennant, isn't it? Or who was that?
Madsen.
Virginia Madsen.
Oh, Virginia Madsen. That's who it was.
Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was a V.
But what started Candyman, do you all know the story about how he started?
No.
It was about a slave man during or before the Civil War. Can't remember that part either. But a slave had fallen in love with a white woman, and they had a child, and the child was Candyman. And the people found out about the child being partly, what he was back then. So they lynched him and cut off his hand and put honey around his hand. Hence the hook and the bees. The bees came to his cut off hand with the honey on it, and eventually that's what killed him, the stings of the bees. So if legend has it, if you say his name 5 times in front of the mirror, kind of like Bloody Mary if we say it 3 times. But it's Candyman. It's Candyman, Tim. Candyman.
So have you ever done that, Tracy?
Oh, come on. Everybody's done the Bloody Mary thing. When we were young and the Candyman came out.
Have you done the Candyman thing?
We did the Candyman.
Okay.
He did not come out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was a little upset.
Now, you said the 1992. You're differentiating it from the, 500 sequels that came out.
Yeah,
right? Have they tried
wasn't about to
rebooting?
watch any of those sequels, honestly.
They were rebooting it while before the world fell apart. So.
I know. I'm looking
Who is
forward
gonna
to
play
it, but I
him?
don't know if they could fill the shoes of what it was. I'm sure they can. But
Jordan Peele is doing it, so even if it's not good, you're not going to be allowed to say that it's not good. So
Right.
yeah, it's
right.
it's going to be really good then.
Well, I'm sitting here, and Candyman, to me, as a horror villain, he's one of those horror villains that's very specific to the actor.
Yes.
I don't see it working without him playing it. It's kind of like when they tried doing
The Crow.
Elm Street. Well,
Ugh.
The Crow. But when they tried doing Nightmare on Elm Street, even though I think they hired a very good actor to portray Freddy, it just didn't feel right because it's so ingrained with that actor. Whereas I felt when they tried rebooting Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th the same way, I don't know that particular aspect affected me as much. I thought, okay, that's fine because the actor was not as ingrained in those characters, I thought.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
love
the speaking.
Tony Todd. He's essentially the Candyman. So I'm sure that they'll do well in replacing him, but he's the original Candyman.
What were you saying, Mike?
No, I just was going along with what you were saying, that the speaking role ones like Freddy and Pinhead and Candyman, they're personified by the actors rather than just being a man behind a mask that anybody can play. And you can have arguments that some played them better than others, but it's still
the same character.
Well, I go
It's
back
just different
to
people portraying that character, and they don't bring the same thing as the first guy.
Yeah, well, I go back to the Universal monsters even. When it comes to Frankenstein, Boris Karloff's the guy. Seeing, what was his name? Glenn Strange do it in Abbott and Costello. That was no good. I think in one of them, Bela Lugosi played Frankenstein. That was no frickin' good. And Bela Lugosi, I like as an actor, but no. And the same was true with the Wolfman. When you didn't have Lon Chaney Jr., you lost something on those Wolfman movies. So I don't know. And it isn't even that Tony Todd is the greatest actor of all time, but he's got a presence, and that voice creeps me the shit out the minute he starts talking. Even when Mike's done how many panels with him now? Like 85? And
How much?
I always,
He's one of my favorites.
When he first starts speaking, every time I get a chill. Because he just has a demeanor to him. And he's being very nice and friendly and what have you. But it's like, damn, that guy's got a creepy voice. He just does.
Well, you know how Morgan Freeman, his is really good for like narration and stuff?
Right.
Like Tony Todd would be really good at the creepy stuff.
Well, I think he was used... There was that
Tony
movie 2 years ago where it was a theme park or fright night at a theme park, and there was a murderer running around, and they had him as kind of like a carny that was the MC at the thing, and that just kind of +1 the entire movie by having him in there and having his voice come in every so often.
Yep.
That was the best description of a movie ever.
It was a terrible description. Can you remember what the name of that thing was?
I have no idea what you're talking about. You told me it's at a thing that opened up and there were people.
It was pathetic.
And then it had credits.
Okay. Let me see if I can remember. It was a guy that was murdering people at a haunted event at a
Tim,
theme park.
you just summed up every straight to Walmart horror movie of the last
I do realize that. What the hell was the name of that thing? They were at a theme park, and it was like a haunted Halloween type event.
I don't know.
God, it was actually a good movie. It's kind of irritating me now. I refuse to look in IMDb. Hellfest. There it is. It's in the chat. Hellfest. Ben to the rescue. That was a good movie, and I think having Tony Todd in there helped it quite a bit. This is why I should be watching the chat room every so often. Okay.
I remember watching that movie, but I don't recall anything from it.
I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was good. So.
Well, I don't trust you, Tim, so.
That's typical. Okay. So that was... Tracy, you still haven't graded yours.
Oh my goodness, I haven't. I didn't tell you who directed it either, I don't think, which was, wasn't it Clive Barker and Bernard Rose or something? Anyway, I'm going to give it an A because I love Tony Todd and I love Candyman. A.
Okay.
Hey, A.
I forgot how to spell it.
Oh.
There it is.
It's the first letter in the alphabet, Tim.
Yeah, but they put it way over to one side on the keyboard. It was hard for me. All right. Fantastic. Well, I have the cleanup position today.
Yes, clean it.
I am going with the brand new 2020 version of The Invisible Man. This just came out. I'm sorry?
Is Kevin Bacon in this again?
No, that's the Hollow Man. That's the Hollow Man. This is the one that came out just moments before the whole world got locked down. It has kind of an interesting development history because this was actually supposed to be part of that dark universe thing that Universal was trying to do. And then they decided that was a complete shit pile after Tom Cruise did The Mummy. And they basically stopped production on everything that they had in the pipeline. At that time, the Invisible Man was going to be played by Johnny Depp, actually. That would have been a very different movie than what we ended up getting. The movie is directed and written by the same guy that did Upgrade, which I mentioned earlier. He was also one of the guys that wrote the Saw movies. I think he wrote the first Saw and then was a producer or something after that, but he was very involved in the Saw films.
Lee?
The Saw?
No, Lee Winnell. Is that who you're talking about?
I think that's his name. I forgot to open this up ahead of time.
Yeah, he wrote the first Saw film, and he was actually in the first Saw film.
Yeah, that's him. Yep.
Then he went on to be in the Insidious films as well.
Right. Well, I guess what happened is when they got done with Upgrade for Blumhouse, which I believe Universal also distributed that one, and I know Halloween Universal distributed for Blumhouse. After Upgrade, they had seen Upgrade, and they talked to him, and they said, how about you take a whack at Invisible Man? And he basically said, I don't want to try to tie this in with the Mummy and all that. And they said, no, just make it on the story, The Invisible Man. So he was tasked with updating The Invisible Man. What he ended up making was a version of the Julia Roberts movie Sleeping with the Enemy, except for the ex-husband character is invisible. And I think if you see the trailers, they kind of tell you that she was.
So it's not Mystic Pizza?
No, it's not Mystic Pizza. Often mistaken for Sleeping with the Enemy, but a slightly different
was all right movie.
Patrick Bergen, I think, was the bad guy in that before 300. I can't recall.
He did it really well.
Hold on, let me see here. Well, Ben doesn't have the answer yet. He will in a minute. Anyway, but he said he looked up Lee too. Anyway, the movie starts. I'll give you kind of the setup, and so you get a feeling for it. The setup is she is sleeping next to a very, very rich guy that lives on the beach, and she sneaks out of bed. It's like 2 a.m. She has drugged this guy, and she has, for the first 10 minutes of the movie, she is circumventing like all this security that's in the house to affect her escape from the home. And that's why I think some people that watch the movie says, oh, it kind of starts slow. That's because they're building how desperate she is just to get out of this situation. And they're showing this guy is like nuts. He has tons of surveillance. He has all this stuff. She sneaks off and barely gets away. And you're like, oh, then she's hiding out. And the next thing you find out is that this guy, this rich guy, that he has passed away and has left her a ton of money because he's very, very rich. But you're always kind of suspicious of it all the way through. And as time goes by, you start realizing he must have faked his death or something, because that son of a bitch is in the room. And we invented the term Waldo vision here on this show, which is where you're playing Where's Waldo? You're kind of like, okay, where is he? He's somewhere in this shot. Think of that when you have an invisible character. You're looking at the screen and you're like, okay, what's moving that shouldn't be moving by itself? What is he possibly affecting that could be happening? Is that water kind of brushing off to the side? Is he blowing on it? Did that handle on the pot just move? What just happened? I will tell you, there are a couple that are super subtle, but as the movie goes on, it becomes less subtle. Things start happening of increased violence and with pretty excellent effects throughout the film. And you just never can trust this movie. She'll be in a room completely alone, but she isn't completely alone. Like, you're always looking over your shoulder, which harkens back to the beginning of the movie where he had cameras all over the house and she's trying to evade his surveillance. Imagine how difficult it is to evade surveillance you don't even know is there, and you couldn't see it even if you knew it was there. And she knows it's there, but she doesn't know where in the room. She knows something, that this guy is watching her, but she can't figure out where. And the movie really plays on that, onward and onward. It builds and builds, big suspense, a few jump scares. For the most part, it's just building the suspense. You're like, I know that guy's there. He's about to do something, but who knows where he's going to come from, what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, because a lot of this is he's gaslighting her. He's screwing around with her, and she seems like she's nuts because I don't see anybody. But she knows if anybody could figure this out, it'd be this guy, because he's a genius and a millionaire, and he's got the resources, and he's got the brains to figure out how to do this.
But I thought he died.
And that all gets explained. I will say this movie is kind of a mystery, the way that it's presented. It answers most questions. There are parts of the movie, my brother had seen it. We sat there and debated the end of the movie 3 different ways that we could have seen that it might have happened, and some of the things. I don't want to spoil it because, frankly, I'm going to go to it now. I think I'm giving this an A, and I debated. The only debate I had in my mind was, is this an A or an A+? This might be my favorite movie of the last 5 years in the horror genre.
Wow.
Wow.
I enjoyed it thoroughly and without reservation. I thought it was really well done, entertaining throughout. You know how I'm always on, these movies are too long, these movies are too long. I felt every minute that they spent, there was a reason for it, and it was building towards something. I could see if you're watching this a second, third, fourth, fifth time, it will probably get old because you already know the stuff that it's establishing that first time. It's like watching any mystery again. I loved the Knives Out. I don't know that I could ever watch it again because I know all the secrets of it. This movie has a lot of secrets that you learn later on. But it was so good. The acting was above average, even for a Blumhouse movie, which I typically think the Blumhouse movies are pretty well acted and directed. The storyline is engaging. There's enough violence so the horror side of you is engaged. Certainly a lot more violence than the original Invisible Man. I mean, this thing has a body count, and it's a body count that's actually higher than a lot of slasher movies have generated. But keep in mind, it's pretty easy to kill people when they absolutely can't see you. Kind of tough. Kind of tough.
True
So,
statements.
and Mike, this is one of those things like you always complain about Chucky from the Child's Play movies, that you're like, oh, why would anybody be frightened of this thing? It's this little tiny doll. You just slap it and it goes away. This is like the opposite. This is a power where, holy shit, that would be one of the most frightening things to be around somebody with this power. And I remembered immediately after I watched the movie, did any of you catch the TV series The Boys? I think it was on Amazon
Yeah, buddy.
Prime. Do you remember one of the most powerful superheroes that they went after was a guy that could be invisible? Remember? He was super scary because he could turn invisible. This movie really latched onto that. And there are real moments in this movie where you are freaking scared. You are actually frightened because they built it up that this guy is unhinged and he doesn't care what happens and he is out for whatever it is he's out for. And sometimes you wonder what it is. Just an outstanding film. I couldn't recommend it enough. Right now, it's kind of pricey out there. On Amazon Prime, it's $20. Now, if you're locked up with a couple of people, it is cheaper than going to the movies would have been for you if you got a couple of people. Actually, in some parts of the country, it still might be cheaper for you. I would highly recommend it. Or, once we're past this time and it's available for cheaper, absolutely catch this flick. This is one, I haven't bought many DVDs since the whole streaming thing is taken over. This is one I'm actually thinking about. I might want to go out and vote with my dollars and pick this one up on DVD. I like it that much. Really, really fine film. If the other movies in the Dark Universe can be half as good as this one, it's got a big future. It's got a big future. This made me feel very, very positive toward the whole Universal monster movies that are in the pipeline. And if they can make them as good as they made this one, we got some great films on the way. And this movie, they decided to make a horror movie. They didn't decide to make some other piece of garbage. They made a horror movie this time. And it is scary. And
I kind of figured it was just going to be another dramatic adaptation.
No. It's a horror movie. There are aspects. This is a horror movie that some people that usually don't like horror movies might like. Because there is the dramatic aspect. There is the abused wife angle of the story that people can latch on to. And this fear of an almost all-powerful abuser that is coming after her. It's worth a watch, and I hope you give it a chance because it's really worth your time and effort. Okay, so that brings us
that review. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
Watching it.
It's readily available. All right, let's go to our closing comments. Which of course we go to the websites. Tracy, you have. Your website is tracydeleon.com. We will have the link in the show notes. I think I hit these two. And that is not what I thought was going to come up. Where is it? Is
Distasteful photo from your archives, Tim. What is happening?
I don't know what just happened. Let's try this. Well, that didn't do anything. There it is. Okay, there's Otherworldly Culture. I don't know what is going on tonight. So there's Otherworldly Culture. Adam, I think you just put this out today or yesterday? When did you put this out? The Ghost Walker.
This morning.
Okay, it was today then.
Yeah.
And then I have a Scream at the Screen that I shot before the big lockdown out at Horror Realm. We have some prime picks out there. We have a couple episodes of the new show I've been putting together called Now Streaming, talking about movies that are now readily available for streaming. And it just about killed me not to do this movie now streaming as well. But we have a review of Horror Realm that Adam, you wrote that one too. So, and we have this story about Lesser Glow. So a lot of good content. You know, when we're all locked up and we don't have much to do at night, the website really gets a lot of content. I noticed that.
That's good.
That's excellent stuff. Let's see. Okay. So, Adam, what have you got cooking in the future? What are you putting together?
Nothing right now. Just kind of putting it together when it hits. So.
Okay, Mike, you working on anything?
I got a few things in the works. You're just going to have to keep clicking on that button, otherworldlyculture.com, to see what happens.
And I can tell you on Thursday, I am going to be doing, where is it? There it is. I will be doing the next episode of Now Streaming. We're going to be doing action movies. I have 2 movies with Alan Quartermain as the main character. Do you guys know who Alan Quartermain is?
That's Sean Connery did that one movie.
That is one of them. Yes, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And he comes from the books King Solomon's Mine.
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie from the 80s.
Yeah, and those are the 2 movies I'm going to be discussing. It's a double feature, everybody. And that's coming up on Thursday. And actually, one of those movies is absolutely free that you can get online. So I'll be telling you how to do that.
That's a deal.
Well, yeah, it's right on. If you have the Roku, it's Tubi TV. I don't know if you guys have ever checked in there, but Tubi TV, I think they do put commercials in, but they actually have a fair amount of decent movies, off the beaten track stuff, so you kind of have to know what you're clicking on. But they have some good stuff out there if you know what you're looking at. If you don't know what you're looking at, don't click on stuff there, because there's a lot of garbage out there too. But you can find some good stuff if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, Tubi's been one of my go-tos during the whole lockdown.
Do they have a lot of commercials? I haven't watched one recently on there.
I think it's really hit and miss with whatever you're watching.
Okay.
Sometimes it seems like there's a lot, other times it doesn't.
I'm trying to remember. There was one of those services on Roku that I tried out, and literally at one point it was 2 minutes between commercials. And I was like, This is ridiculous. I couldn't believe how often they jumped in there. But Tubi, I remember, was kind of like an old UHF channel. It came in, but not all the time, so it wasn't too bad. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Anything else from the panel? Anything you that we didn't cover that I should have talked about, or we should have talked about?
Tubi
No, thank you guys for having me again, though.
Say that again.
Sorry.
Both talked at the same time. Tracy?
I wasn't saying anything important. Go ahead, Tracy.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Thanks for having me again, guys. It's been too long.
Oh, God, we missed you like crazy. It's good to have
I
you
miss you
back on the
guys.
program. We look forward to having you on more in the future.
We'll sign up more.
Are you coming up? Okay, good. Yeah, I do need to start scheduling shows again. So that'll be a weekend activity for me while I'm locked up here. All right. Thanks, everybody. And remember, hang in there, Pumpkin, until our next show. Remember, as John Carpenter once said, horror is a reaction, not a genre. Otherworldlyculture.com.
Oh my goodness.
Whores make money with their mouth, but it doesn't make it right. Red box. Put it in your butt box.